Well, Harry, thank you so much. It almost sounds like it's all said, but I just had to prepare something too, so thanks to CMU for this award. Wow. And congrats to the other recipients. I have to thank, I just met Jeffrey today, but Eileen babysat my kids while I taught at CMBC, so that's really cool. We just hugged about that earlier on. And Randy, and you'll hear him later, he preached the best Good Friday service I ever heard in my whole life. So we have a lot to look forward here yet tonight. I've lived my entire life on only Mennonite money, which began as an 18-year-old with a $15 monthly MCC stipend. And in some ways, this award symbolizes for me the trust that Mennonites have shown over the years. I was often kind of working on a not always understood cutting edge of the church. And so I have concluded if I say nothing of value in the next few minutes, Mennonites have truly wasted a lot of money on me. And we all know that Mennonites hate to waste money, so this would be really serious. So I have a lot to live up to. I also thought of several ways that I wasn't really eligible for this award, but we won't go into those because I really don't like to miss a party, and everybody knows I love to throw parties. And so here I am. I didn't raise any of those issues. My husband, Loren, chose to garden instead of party with us. So he is back in Edmonton, but he warrants being here as well. We've worked as a team all these years, and it was he who, most of the time, looked after my children while I studied at CMBC. Some people achieve by pushing against the negative models of their past. And I have to go on record of saying that I don't think I've ever thought I was doing anything unusual because I was simply following the model of my home and my Mennonite community back in Fisk, Saskatchewan. And I am thankful that my sister's here, my kids, as he mentioned, and I have some Burkina team members with me here tonight to also celebrate. So thanks to them for coming. My mother once told me that she had trouble studying the Old Testament because there was just too much war. Well, I was privileged to study at CMU. And I studied with Waldemar Jansen, who's here, Gerald Gerbrandt, who unpacked that rich Old Testament story and delved deeply into the cultural perspectives of that day. More recently, I attended a CMU portable with Gordon Matthews on the book of Joshua. So thanks to all you professors and all the new perspectives and inspiration that you've been. My best friend from Burkina Faso is called Musokura Ouattara. She's a very sensitive midwife, or doula, and a fantastic storyteller of both real life and fables. She is a mediator, a ritual leader, a farmer, a market woman, and she's also an expert cook and nutritionist. She was the cultural interpreter for our family, and she is one relational expert. If Musokura would come to Canada, the only label that we would give her here is non-literate, because she never went to school. Among newcomers, there are incredibly gifted people like her, coming from face-to-face societies who are often superior to us relationally. But somehow Mennonites, both internationally and in Canada, have an exceptional gift in validating such people. How is it that we can engage people so different in every way from us? I remember my last year's Christmas party where there were 8 conversations going on between a Mennonite and an Iranian. I count on Mennonite friends doing that well. But then Mennonite friends have also said to me, until I created a chance for encounter, they hadn't got to know Iranians on their own. So it takes that gift and a chance to encounter. With globalization trying to squeeze us into one boring monolithic culture, and with stronger currents of nationalism, let's find ways of celebrating the unique cultures and gifts of each individual and group we encounter. I am learning more about what it means to be an ally, recognize our privilege and facing oppression, and it seems Mennonites are already gifted in that line. And I don't know if CMU already trains people in allies, but I really think Mennonites got to get their head around that. We're already good at it, and we could just get better. This unique gift that we have places us in situations worldwide of creating third spaces. I too initiated a group in Alberta that organizes a yearly Christian-Muslim dialogue. The obvious reasons to do interfaith dialogue are so that diverse peoples live together peacefully, and with the personal contact which we facilitate, the stereotypes often fall away and we are transformed. And the uniqueness of our Edmonton dialogue, which I think is based on the community idea that Mennonites believe in, is that instead of focusing on listening to speakers at our dialogues, the participants spend the majority of their time experiencing facilitated encounters between themselves around mixed tables. And there's an Iranian-born Dr. Shamali, he's well known at CMU. He believes that between faith communities, we need to compete less, but together point people to the divine. Well, that changed a lot of some old perspectives in how we've done things. Religious values would then be respected in society, and we would be able to inspire and impact the broader Canadian society with a richer ethical base. And this, of course, is one form of verbal witness, and I'll come back to that later. In fact, CMU helped germinate these Christian-Muslim dialogues many years ago. I simply followed their relational tracks back to Edmonton and found colleagues there also interested. In fact, CMU, on very short notice, gave up 2 professors to do a week of presentations when Harry Hubner was not able to come to Edmonton as planned. I was personally so deeply touched, realizing that the work I was doing was not Donna's work, but it was work we as a Mennonite collective were now doing. This is going to sound like a sermon, sorry. The story in Luke 10 of Jesus sending out the 70 is profound and simple, almost too simple. How should we behave? Well, we're to bring blessings of peace to each household. Advice, travel light, and eat and drink whatever they give you, meaning accept hospitality. We should depend on those we meet, which could change the power dynamic. Hospitality is about way more than food. And one message, we've already sung about it today, the kingdom of God has reached you. And one action, heal the sick, period. That's all we do. And which ways are we sick today? The speaker at our National Assembly, Elaine Heath, told of more and more ways that our world needs healing. Physical healing, and emotional healing as in Jesus' day. In my neighborhood, the need for healing is from social isolation because social isolation leads to emotional and physical sickness. And finally, especially, with the focus on climate change action like today, we need to be healed from our greed and the dysfunctional relationship we have with our planet. According to this passage, healing is all we need to do. And finally, whatever we do in our neighborhoods, our city, that might get pushback, just shake off the dust. God is responsible for the outcome, not us. If anybody works with Muslims, you can't depend on worrying about the outcome. When I first moved to Edmonton, I volunteered in English programs. As part of orientation, I was told to steer away from politics and religion. I've done the opposite. Many newcomers are escaping bad politics somewhere in the world, and they need to give voice to their experiences. They would integrate easier if they could tell their story. Many also come with religion being their primary identity marker. So if you shut down talk of politics and religion, what else would you share? I have surprised and delighted Muslim friends because I am willing to share something about my faith, and that frees them to verbalize as well. And of course, then the relationship can go deeper. There was one situation back in Burkina Faso when I just wished that time would stop still. We were sitting with the elders of our village, both men and women, and we were listening to the story of the 10 Commandments and the blood ritual and the meal that followed. Suddenly, they exclaimed, "They're drinking blood. God is drinking blood with people." That was how they described their own covenants, but had never imagined the God they called either Gabla or Allah would make such a solemn promise with people. Because of their worldview connection to the Bible, they at first hearing understood the story's depth more profoundly than I think even our CMU profs do. Isn't that amazing? All illiterate people. Why was this experience so powerful? I think it is because I have lived with the understanding that being faithful to God means finding creative ways to share God's message verbally. Our good actions, of course, need to complement what we say, but because of cultural assumptions, our actions cannot always speak for themselves, like many Mennonites say. In Burkina Faso, to give a verbal message meant helping translate Bible stories into their mother tongue language. In Edmonton, it has meant planning interfaith dialogues, throwing holiday parties of diverse people, and discussing our holy books together in small groups. I do not have to be apologetic about this passion, because even Muslims agree with its importance. Because of the integrity we carry as Mennonites doing holistic ministry, adding words to that witness would be powerful. Our challenge is, how do we say, in acceptable language of today, the kingdom of God has reached you? That is the challenge I leave for CMU and for us in the Mennonite constituency they serve. Thank you again.